I'm genuinely quite confused now. So if I log this, the whole state here, you should see. What? And we say current path, right? Oh God, I'm silly. I'm so silly. So really, we just care about the state current path because we got rid of the, of course, we got rid of the getter because we don't need it. We're just accessing the state directly there. Cool. All right, and then we get the directory items. And you know what? I'm gonna make that assertion earlier, and then that way that goes away quicker, right? Because that relates to that, and this is sort of an add-on assertion. And then now the first item is currently selected, and that is no longer a getter, that is now the state, right? And that is also the state, and that is also the state. Okay, cool. So that might actually work now. Okay, so unknown mutation. Well, that is obvious. It's not a mutation anymore. So where are we doing that? So this is now a dispatch, and this is now asynchronous, and dispatch, people will tell you, has a C in it. So let's await the dispatch, and then lots of awaiting dispatches. Cool. All right. So now that should get us a little bit further, if not to green. No green. Okay. So I can live with that. So on line 29, we're saying the first item is selected, so we should be at 0. And then when I push command down, I should see that adjustment go through, right? Adjust selection by, and that's going to contain the adjustment of 1. And I might just remove that default value because I think it's better to not have the ambiguity. Okay, so what's happening here? So we press command down, is there any log? Setting current path, listing the directory. I see the contents of that directory, I see the current path is nothing. Huh. Okay, maybe before I get that assertion, what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to log out that part of the state. So let's log out the state selected indices, right? And that is the state dot selected indices. Surprise, surprise. And let's just make sure that is what we think it is. No, it's empty. Okay, okay. Ah. Okay. So our getters. Ah, alright. No. State.current path. Huh. The selected index for the current path should equal 0. Yeah, it should. Why would it not be? Okay, maybe we need to log out what's happening here. Alright. So let's say that we have a current, let's just say adjust selection by, and we have a current selection of current selection, right? And then we can log out our desired value. And oh, yep, I forgot the final clause here. The final clause. No, the final clause is we need to then say we commit the set selection of the current path right, and that's the value is going to just be the desired value, right? So like if where you want to go is not less than 0 or too big or too small, then we just set it directly, and then our test will pass. Wow. This is various levels of unfortunate. Line 30. Okay. So what's really happening? Let's read our log. I open the application. I see I open the application and open the root directory. So we open the empty directory. We set the current path to nothing. We expand the directory to an absolute path, and we list it. We complain that the dev tools are not installed for some reason. Then we see the contents of the directory. We see that the current path is updated. The first item is selected immediately. And then when I push command down and I see the second item, there we look. We're not setting. Okay, there we go. I know what's wrong. So this is a view thing. So what we really want to do is we can't destructure that here. So we want to, oops. What? There you go. Okay. So what we really want to do is we want to say view.set state because we're setting we're setting inner properties of objects which view can't observe at the moment because of some sort of limitation of JavaScript, I believe. Oh no, the way that the getters and setters work. Right, so now we need to set the internal property of the selected indices to be the value, and then that should work, right? Nope, sorry, that's not supposed to be a string. So we're actually going to use state.currentPath as the key. So that's a dynamic key. And then still failing, but we see we've got our key in there correctly. Now what else do you want from me? So we expected 1 from the current path, but for some reason it's been set to an object. Oof. What? What on earth is happening? Okay, so for some reason we're passing in an object which contains the value that we're interested in instead of just the value. So the selected index 4. Okay, so the selected index 4 is that's not going to be the value, right? I see. Yeah. Okay. So this is actually a payload containing the value and the path, and that way we don't have to set the path here. Sorry, we don't have to retrieve the path from the state. So we should be able... I mean, is there ever a scenario where we need to set to move in a directory that we're not in? Yeah, when the user clicks, right? When the user clicks on something, we might not be in that directory because the user sees multiple directories. Okay, cool. So it does make sense to have it this way. Okay, so with that change, I want to see some green, baby. Give me some green. No. Okay. Okay, what's happening here? Is this another mutation problem? Get sleep rooms. Okay, so let's look at our test logs. So I press command down and I see the second item selected. So we're adjusting the selection, and it's currently 0 and we desire 1. And we pull the file system again, and we see that the selected indices is set. But again, we're trying to move from 1 to 2, and that's fine. Now we do it one more time, and we expect to move from 2 to 3. So I think we need this, right? Because it's one off. Show me green. Okay, cool. So these logs aren't particularly useful. That one's still useful. I might prefer to leave logs out of the mutations because they're so simple anyway. Okay, cool. So this is when we see green, we commit. So what's happening? So we added the count items ability. Just did a little bit of refactoring. That console log is useful, so I'm going to leave it there. Okay. Don't need that anymore. Cool. All right. I'm happy with that. Commit. So what are we going to say? This is implement wrap around navigation. And let's push that up. I probably should just push it all, isn't it? Okay, cool. Now, what is the next thing we want to build? Well, let's think about our test. So, first item selected, and then we go back to the first item, and let's just make sure that the opposite is correct, right? So we push command up, and see it wraps back to the last item, right? I probably will amend this into the previous commit because it's very related. Okay, so let's create an adjustment that's -1, and we just expect that to be the third item again. Ooh. Aha, I know why, I know why. So we just need to negate that by 1. Sorry, subtract that 1 from that. Oh. Cool. All right, so we have another green test. I'm just going to amend that into the previous commit because it's very related. Oh, one moment. Sorry about that. Brief interruption. Okay, where were we? Well, we just amended that commit, so just overwrite that. Okay. So what is the next step? Sorry, something at the door. Okay, cool. So the next step is what? So we've got the wrap around functionality. So we can actually just say like this. It wraps around when you reach either the top or bottom. Right. Cool. Okay, so we might be able to make that a little more specific, this test. So we say what would we say? Selection wraps around. Okay, cool. And so I'm going to copy this test and create another one. So I think we now want to be able to navigating into subdirectories, right? Okay, so we still want all of the same stuff. That's interesting that we're not using that at all, are we? Huh. Oh, we'll figure that out later. Okay. So as a user navigating the file system, it allows me to move into subdirectories, right? Okay. So when we open the root directory, right? And I see the first item is a subdirectory, right? So we're going to say the first item dot type to equal the directory type, which we'll define at the top on line 8. So the directory type is going to be just a string containing dir, I believe. And then if we go down here and oops, we can delete most of the stuff, I believe. Cool. Oops, not that stuff. What on earth is going wrong? So the first error up here is jest. Jest is not defined. Okay. In fact, we only care about fn, and then we can define it like that, right? And we can pull result out and clean that up. Okay. Why on earth is that complaining? I think I might have named this. That's why it's complaining. Okay, so I don't need to do any of the stuff from jest. All I need to do is remember to name my file correctly. It's jest as an automatic global. Okay, so what happens now? Well, I open that up again. I see the root directory, right? Yep. And then I see the first item is a subdirectory. And then what happens? Well, I push command plus right and move into that directory, right? So we dispatch and we await the dispatch, I believe. And what should that be called? Move into, perhaps. And let's say I guess we don't really need to return anything here. So then we always need to use the notes directory service whenever we're doing a move, and okay. So what I think we do is we create this first item is equal to the directory items dot zero, right? And then now we're being more descriptive. This reads a little better, so we can say the first item type is equal to the directory type. So we're just saying, like, make sure it's a directory before we try and move into it. And then we await the dispatch of a move into action. We pass it the notes directory service, and instead of a path, I think we just want to send it the first item in its entirety. And the reason why is that the items contain a CWD, current working directory value, as well as a name. And it's kind of up to the store, I guess, to validate that action. So if that item is, first of all, like not a directory, then the store needs to complain. So for instance, if you try and move into a file, well, I suppose this is generic. That's really interesting. In fact, like the UI the user interface might not even need to know, because if you try and move into a file, that's the equivalent of opening it in the editor. And if you try and move into a subdirectory, then you just you go deeper into that folder, right? So we could probably dispatch that action for both cases, I believe, and just pass the item in, which I like. It's simpler. Okay. So in that scenario, what's the next step? Well, I see my current directory is now the sub is updated, and there are different items in it, right? So we say the state.current path. So we expect the state.current path to equal the first item dot name, right? And we also expect, as part of this updated the items, that when we do getters dot no, that's not a getter, that's a dispatch. So we need to dispatch in order to okay, yeah, all right. I guess what we really want to do is we don't actually need to go through the store for this, because this is a test only piece of logic. So if we dispatch the oh no, don't dispatch. If we await calling the notes directory, this directory, because essentially we want to list it but we don't want to set it, and then we can just say the state dot current path, right? And in fact I might just pull this out and say this is new items equals blit, and we expect new items dot length to not to equal directory items dot length. So expect it to be different, right? Okay, now that makes sense. That failure is because we haven't implemented this. So let's implement our move into action. Okay. Where are we looking to? Okay, so is this going to be asynchronous? Depends. Yeah, okay, let's just do async for now. So it's going to be a move into, and what do we care about? Wow. So we're definitely going to do a commit, right, to the state. What else are we going to do? So commit to the current path, and I think that might be all we need for now. And we need the notes directory service, and we also need the item, don't we?
Farewell, sweet cookie cats. I'll always remember the time we spent together.
So what do we want? So if item.type is equal to directory, let's call this item type directory,
Hush now.
oops, and if it is, then let's we want to dispatch another action, right? And we can just return the result of dispatch, and that is just going to be open directory. And looks like we are going to use the state here, so we're going to dispatch open directory with a payload, and the path is going to be oh, do we need the state? I'm not sure we do actually, because we get the current working directory from the item itself. So I believe what we can do is we just do like item.cwd / item.name, something like that. And then we just need to pass the notes directory in there. Okay, and then otherwise, if it's not, what do we do? Well, let's say if the item type is equal to item type file, right? Then hold on. Okay, item type file. Then what do we do? In fact, I don't think we're going to need to do any return here, because all of these are just going to be a single dispatch. And let's say load content. In fact, we don't need to do this right now, so I'm going to put a to do and just throw new error move into file not implemented, and then else something similar, but this one is actually going to be a permanent error, I think, here. And what should we say? Item type not recognized. Maybe. I mean, like, no. Okay, I'd rather just do nothing in this case. Okay. And then we just need to define this up the top. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Okay, so that CWD is maybe not what I think it. I mean, what we could do is just take the current path out of the state. I might just also just console log the item so that I'm not grr. So this is the move into item, and just so I'm not losing, just make sure I'm not losing my mind there, because I'm pretty sure it should be on the CWD property, or maybe I'm misunderstanding how that's supposed to work. Okay, and then so from using the state instead, what we do is we say it's the state dot current path, right? Cool. And I think that is correct. So let's update our test to expect, where is it? To equal the first slash. Right? Cool. Sweet. So we move into the item name 2020. It is a dir directory, and we've got 2 directories under it. Cool. We don't need that log anymore. Okay, so it seems like only the file items have a CWD attribute. Okay, so I'm quite happy to. Where are those 2020? Oh, they're coming from over there. Huh. I'm just wondering. I guess when we open a directory, we want to trim that part. And actually, yeah, maybe that test fix was incorrect. Okay, and then, so where do we trim the path? I mean, we could. Okay, well, let's have a look if there's JavaScript trim first. Is there maybe something in Lodash that we can use? This is when I miss writing Ruby. What do we care about? We care about string. Debur. Ah, okay. Trim. Moves leading and trailing wise or specific. Yeah, that's what we want. Okay, so I'm not sure if our project even has Lodash at the moment, but we almost certainly will use it in the future. So let's add low hash is a completely different library. Okay, cool. And now in our store we can import trim from Lodash, right? And whenever we open a directory, we just trim anything, any slashes on the side, right? Yep. And we'll just do we've got it here, directory separator, right? Yep. Okay, and so I think that will mean that our test passes again without that adjustment. Fantastic. So we have now implemented. Let's just go through our tests to make sure that there's nothing we've got here. So like we no longer need this helper function. I might need to extract that step pretty soon. But everything else I think we're not using getters. We're not using commit. Nice, that is a nice simple test. So I think that is pretty useful. So I will commit that. Okay, and we can say this is now implemented moving into subdirectories, right? Cool. How's everyone doing? Is it as warm where you are as it is here? Because it is currently, I think, 37 degrees, which is like 98, I think, in Fahrenheit. Oh, yeah. Okay, so what is the next step? I guess at this step we need to reintegrate our updated store back into the UI. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So let's do that. Oh no, before we do that, in fact, I think it's better for us to figure out the file open and then going back up the directory tree as well. May as well get it all done at once, right? Okay, so what? Alright. I'm tempted to extract our helpers. I think that might just get in the way for a while. So let's say, oh yeah, it's this one here. Navigating into subdirectories. So we essentially want this, but slightly different, right? And just rename, get rid of that copy at the end there, and rename it navigating into files. Okay. So we're still going to need our path and all of that. We've got our dummy root, our dummy app, which for some reason isn't getting used right now. I can't remember why. So it should be like that, and oh yeah, we don't actually need that app anymore, do we? Ooh, okay. I might just leave it how it is and then figure out that later. Okay. So as a user navigating the file system, it allows me to move into files. Right? And it's going to be roughly the same thing. So we open the root directory and we actually care about the first, let's just say first file, right? And so let's check the array documentation for JavaScript. They have the array for find, right? Yeah, so if we run find on these items and we just care where the i.type is equal to the file type, and let's go back here and change that, and that is file, right? So that will be the first file that matches, and then we don't care about that because that's, I push command right and move into that file, right? And we're going to put the first file, whoa, it's not what I typed. Sometimes I feel like VS Studio Code can be too helpful. Okay. So we're going to move into the first file in that directory, and I see that my current directory is not updated, right? I think that's important. To equal an empty string still, and step, what's the next step? I see the file content as my editor content, right? And we don't care about the new directories. What do? We expect that the state dot original Okay, so I think we always need to retain the original content of the file. Do we? No, we don't, because that's in the file system. Yeah, okay. So what do we say? We just say editor content to equal. Now, I can't remember what it's going to equal, but we'll get a failing test and we'll use the failure to populate that value. Okay, so this next thing, I guess, is this should fail with this error here on line 50. Move into file not implemented. Cool. So that's exactly what we expected, which is nice. But we can remove this and now say what? Let's dispatch another action and say open file, and we're going to pass in the path, which in fact that is almost, is that a, yeah, okay. So this is interesting. I mean, we could, that's fine. Oh, because this might change, the arguments here might change a little bit later, so I'm not going to try and refactor that just yet. Okay, and then now we just need to implement our open file function action, sorry, which is actually a function as well, but let's be specific. Open file, and we're going to need the commit path, yes. So opening file here, we're not going to update the path, but what we are going to do is we're going to wait for file contents, and that's going to be the awaited, so that means that's asynchronous. It's the awaited value of notes directory dot read. And maybe, yeah, see, I knew this was going to happen. So we're now opening file, and we just pass an item in instead of a path. And I think that's fine. I think that's useful to have the whole item in this case, I believe. And that makes this a little simpler, right? You know what? We may as well pass that into... No, okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I like that. We could figure that out later if we need to. Okay, so in this scenario, okay, where were we? So we were reading, right? So we've got the file content, so we're not doing anything with that yet. And what we want to do is we want to commit set editor content to the file contents, right? Okay. So opening, yeah, okay. Opening file, getting the contents in the editor contents. So in the future, we're going to have some logic that checks that we're not overriding the user's work. I'm thinking like if we want to do like a keyboard shortcut for everything. I'm thinking we might show like an error the first time, like not an error, it's like a modal. But then if they do like a double, it'll just automatically save the file. I think that's nicer, right? Like I always like to save things immediately. I don't know why we need a dialogue every time we want to save stuff, right? Like no one's working on a document or a file and actively trying to make it worse. right? So we could always just have some sort of like clipboard where we have an undo or something similar. Don't know. Or a backup file might be more elegant. I kind of like that. So we just like get out of the user's way, right? So essentially, yeah, I like that. So like, as soon as you move into a file, if you've got unsaved stuff in your current file, we just fucking like save it, right? And then if we overwrite stuff, the user can just undo, right? Because like, for instance, let's show you an example. So like, if I'm writing a document and I've got all this stuff and then I close, right? We know that the default action should be save. So why not just let me close? Because like 9 times out of 10, I do want to save what I just did. And then we save it by default, and then we just have a backup file which allows you to undo. Kind of like that. Maybe put the test down the bottom. Okay, cool. So we've got a failure. I see the file content. Yeah, okay. So yeah, we need to implement this mutation. And you know what? Let's just return the file contents as well. No, we don't need to. Although, okay, I'll make the test easier. We won't actually be using that data. Okay, it is a violation of command query separation, but I know it's a violation and I'm only using it in my test. So I think it's okay. I'm a big boy. I can violate your coded guidelines. Okay. Okay, so we got to do the mutation, set editor content, and where are our mutations? So this is going to be a pretty simple I mean, current content, yeah, screw it. Current content. That's, we might want to show the content in other places. So just because it happens to be displaying in the editor, I think, doesn't mean that it's necessarily editor content. So then if that's the case, then we just need to update that assertion to be current content, right? Nice. Fantastic. Okay, so that now allows us to go into our files. So we can say here, what can we say? Allow navigating into files, and I'll push that up. Okay, so we don't need this commit here. Nice. Aha. So really what we're wanting to do here so we want value to be right, and what we're really caring about here is
We're scaring those things away.
right. So that's what we really want to do here. Maybe calling that naive value is more accurate, but okay. Cool. So I believe all of our tests should still pass. Fantastic. And now, what is our other test? Navigating up, right? And that's going to be another simple test. In fact, it's probably going to be more similar to this test. So I'm going to paste that in there. Okay. And navigating out of. You know, we turned into one word. Maybe one day in English, out of will be one word. Won't that be fantastic? Okay, so yeah, we care about do we? We'll see. Okay, as a user navigating the file system, it allows me to move out of subdirectories, right? So I open the root directory. Nah. Let's start the test. Batteries included. I am already in a subdirectory, and so we can say this will be in the 2020 directory, right? Our darling year 2020. And then what happens then? So then I push command left and move out of that directory, right? And let's just call it the move up action, right? And I'm not sure we ever need to oh, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to test it in 2 steps here, because we added an extra ability to go right back to root with a single keyboard shortcut. So let's say I in a deep, it's deep, man, deep subdirectory, and we're going to start in 2020 0730, right? So we're going to start all the way back there. And then when we push command left, we see that the current directory is updated, right? one level up, right? And it should equal 2020/07, right? And then let's say here I push command plus shift plus left, and I move back to the root. Move to root. I think we already had that somewhere. Go to root. Okay, go to root, and then this one is go up directory. Right? And then what happens, I expect that to be an empty string, right? Oops. I'm gonna put that, I see my code is back at root. Yep, okay. So the current path is going to be equal to an empty string. And I kind of feel like we've already done this logic, so it should just pass if we're haven't been stupid today. Oh, the sun has gone behind a cloud, which is nice. This is interesting. Go up directory. I wonder if not too sure. That's really odd. Here we go. Unknown action type, go up directory. That was a mutation. Okay, that's cool. So these are not dispatches because they can happen synchronously without any sort of like third-party service or file system interactions. So that is where we pull the commit back into here, and we commit those, and we never await mutations because no mutation should ever be asynchronous. And now I think we have our directory structure. Boom! I love it. Okay, so now what do we got? So yeah, we now support what's this? Oh, yeah, so this is a refactor the, what is that? The move into action, right? And then this was actually just writing a test for something we already had. So add test for backwards, upwards directory traversal. All right. Cool. Now I guess the final step of this little journey will be to reintegrate this updated store with our user interface, and that's going to be really, really simple. I I say that, maybe it won't be, but let's have a look. Okay, so the current content is going to stay the same. Okay. Okay, okay. I think that's fine. So on item select, yeah, we might need to change that. Maybe not. Okay, so all of this stuff we have we've extracted, so we no longer need to care. And the last directory, that is the last directory from the views type. And then on item select we don't care. Instead, what we want to do is we want to map our set selection? No. Move into. So when you select something, what we're really doing is we're going to consider it like move into. So we can map actions into here, and the actions that we care about are what were we caring about? Move into. Okay, so we move into whenever we select, and what does move into need from us? It needs an item and the notes directory, and that's fine because notes directory is a global plugin. We have a singleton reference. So we say this dot move into, and we pass it our item and a notes directory who just happens to be this dot notes directory. Okay, on file select, and we don't need to ever do that anymore, right? And on up, we don't care. I don't believe. In fact, this we don't care about either. We're really botching up this component. So it, okay, and the paths. Okay, we might still need that directory separator. All right. So no, now we no longer need to worry about passing those events down from the parent component. Yep. And then the editor, yeah, the editor should be fine. All of this stuff should be relatively fine. The directory. So none of this is required. We do need to emit the event upwards. I think it's okay to access the notes directory for a read only, right? Because like, there's no point in going through the store for that. Maybe? I'll think about that, but we'll leave it as is for now. Okay, and then what else? So then it's mainly going to be just our home component and see what can we clear up about this. So that probably will end up in the store as well. That's fine. So that state is only getting operated on from this component at the moment. So I think it's perfectly reasonable to keep it in this component. Not everything needs to go into the state, right? It's only when you start sharing state between components that it makes sense. Like, okay, so when we push right, okay, here we go. So this is, I think, our one of our final things here. So we go to root and we go up directory. So when we push right, what we actually want is we want to map our actions as well. Move. What were we calling it? Move. Didn't mean to do that. Move into, yeah, there's move into with the item and note directory. Okay, so move into, and that should be an array, and needs a comma at the end. And so then, whenever we push right, we just say this dot move into, and we pass an item in a notes directory, and actually that needs to be this dot notes directory. Now this is slightly more involved event handler. So now what? Thanks Gamer Krishna for your follow. Sorry, I missed that there. Okay, and then where do we get our item from? Well, I suppose we can set the current item in the state. This dot current item, perhaps. And then and then we just need to map the state of current item, and then that would require us to import that. Map state, okay. And from the state, we don't actually save it in the state just yet. Let's just have a look. Right, I'm gonna have to be right back. All right, we're back. So we need to update our state, our test a little bit, I believe. Okay. Maybe we just need another test here. So what do we care about? So that we care about sets the current item, right, as you navigate. So that is not required, and we can just say sets current item as you navigate. Right, and then what happens? Well, we can change this and say it sets the current item in state as I navigate. Does it? No. Yeah. God, yes. Yes, okay, yeah. I'm not losing my mind, yes. Okay, so it sets the current item in state as I navigate. And then we open the root directory, and we don't really care about these assertions here. In fact, navigating into files is going to be useful, so we're just going to say that. So first file, so we say like, okay, let's find the first file in that directory, And I don't actually want to find the item itself. I think I want to just find index of, yeah. So the index, oh, array find index. Yeah, that's what I want. So we want to find the index, and we call this first file index, and then we can say I press command down until the first file is selected, right? And then instead of just doing that, we can just do first file index. Okay, and then what do we expect to see? Well, we expect I see the current file as, I see this file as my current item, right? And then here we can just say expect state.current item to equal okay, so we can just say the first file, whoa, const. So our selector is equal to this, right? And then we just say it's that and that, right? And then down here we just say first file. Okay. So whenever we adjust the selection, what we need to do in our store, let's put that test down the bottom there. Plonk. Not interested in that one. So let's go back to our store and have a look where we're at. Plonk. I just got distracted and can't think. What am I doing? What am I doing? Oh my god, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Okay, yeah, that's right. So then when we adjust the selected file, might pull this down. What is eating my CPU at the moment? Is it source tree? Visual Studio Code. I think it's just because it's so warm at the moment. CPU is just chugging along. Yeah, no, it's just because it's warm. Okay, so whenever we make this adjustment, right? Current selected index 4. So the current selection, make the additions. We get the item count. Aha, and now we want to. So we've now changed what we want from this service. So originally we wanted just the item count, but I think we're going to need to take it a little, go back a bit and not just count the items, but list the whole directory. And I'll show you why in a bit. So really what we want is we want to say item directory contents, directory items. That's more expressive, I believe. So the directory items is going to be the awaited result of listed directory. Right, the item count is now simply the directory items.length, and we set the value here, and instead of just committing the selection value, we are also going to commit set current item, maybe selected item is slightly more expressive, and then we would say that is the directory items at value. Set selected items. Yep, there we go. Cool, so the selected item is going to be like that, and then we just need a mutation to save that. And oh, we've got it already. Set current item. Okay, we just changed that to set selected item. Ah. Okay, current is different from selected. Set selected item, so we can't quite do that difference, and I'm gonna write down the difference because it's nuanced, and we can say current versus selected, right? A selected item has focus in the file browser, but has not necessarily, there we go, has not necessarily been opened. An item is not the current item until it has been opened. Okay, so let's just make sure we're clear, even just with ourselves, the reason for that terminology we've chosen. So the selected item is going to take an item, and it's going to look a lot like that function up above on line 24, because we just say state dot selected item is equal to ... Now the reason, Jesus Christ, the reason why I don't just set the item explicitly is that this this is a nested object, and the file system, it's like a nested file system object, and I feel like we definitely want to make sure we have a duplicate of that item if we're putting it in our state, so that if someone has a reference to that, for instance, they can't modify it outside of the code. Okay, so cool. So do our test still pass? Oh wait, let's go back to our test. So we actually care about the selected item, right? As my selected item. Ooh, I like that. But not my current item. Right? And then what happens is I push command plus right, and it is now both. And so to do that, we just need to await a dispatch of the move into event. Jesus. Move into, and we pass the item and the notes directory. Right. Yep. Directory. And we don't have, we just have that, so we call this first file. And then we expect the current item as well to be that. Okay, let's see if that works. And it doesn't. No. Expected 1. Oh. Haha. So the first file is that. Right. Okay, now what's happening? State.currentItem to equal first file. Okay. So when we move into, are we sure that we're setting the current item? So move into, dispatch open file, set current content, but we're not setting current item. Okay, so we set the let's set the current item first, right? Before we go asynchronously. So we want to do as much upfront modification to the state that we can, I believe. Or do we wait for the... So we... Yeah, I think we want it to happen like this. Cool. What's failing here? We expected that. We got state the current item. Set current item to that. What? Why is that listing directory? That is not supposed to be listing directory. That's supposed to be reading. Okay. Oh, we will need to write a test for to assert the file content. That's interesting. Is it because we're not awaiting that somewhere? So let's have a look. So we await the move into, and the move into needs to await that. Because it's not returning them anymore. And now I think that will work. Maybe, maybe not. How is everyone today? Is it as warm where you are as it is me? Okay, here we go. So set file contents, read item. Does read take an item? Yeah, it does. Am I doing that read? Yeah, it's awaited. Huh. So if we log out that file contents, what do we get? Probably don't need to be running my local dev server, but while we're just writing tests at the moment. What's going wrong? File contents undefined. Okay. Okay, I think that's a good place to leave us. We're really, really close to finishing this series of acceptance tests. And my knees are getting sore. But yeah, I think we're almost there. We just need to fix that file contents thing, and we're pretty much hooked up with the store now and the file system in a pretty unconventional way. But I'm not sure whether this is unconventional, but I really, really like the idea of passing in these service objects into the store. And then having those service objects be immutable singletons. I think that makes a lot of sense. Like I've never seen it done that way before in Vue or Vuex, but I think this strategy is really working for me, and I think I'm going to start adopting this pattern. In fact, I might write a blog post about it and see if I can get any feedback on what other people think, because it might be a stupid idea, but it's basically dependency injection for Vuex. Maybe even write a little plugin for it. I don't know. All right, let's debrief. So we've been developing our CY application. It's a automated publishing and note-taking app. And once we finish hooking up the file system, we will start building our pipeline system, which will allow us to take any file, any markdown file, and push it to a number of different social media websites. For instance, taking a short little right? A little markdown document and some descriptions, and then send to Twitter, send to Reddit, right? That's where we're going next. We want to be able to just write quick little notes and just publish them to the whole internet instead of having to worry about trying to do social media marketing. It's such a pain in the ass and it's such a waste of time. So let's automate the shit out of social media marketing, because it's a time suck and people shouldn't be employed doing this stuff. It can all be automated, so let's automate it. Cool. So once we get that done, we should be good. So if you have any questions, head over to sebthecat.com. All right, so that's where our blog is at. I'll be posting up-to-date links, tips, and write-ups of any problems or issues we have along the way. Everything's categorized, so you can see we're doing a little bit of DevOps, we're doing a little bit of AWS. Long-term goal is to be, once this product is complete, to move into some audio and webcam streaming systems for computer games. That's probably a few weeks away still, but check it out. If you've got any questions, you should be able to find our Twitch, our YouTube on there. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to give us a follow. Otherwise, I think you should have a lovely day and a lovely weekend. I'm quite confident I will. So, yeah, peace, love, and meow.